Good morning. I have a question for you guys. What salary made you feel like a rich person and why? Like, try to think back to a salary that when you got that, you just knew that this was it. This was the money that was going to, you know, make you feel or instantly made you feel like you were rich. For me, um, if you're new here, I'm Sheila, the PA doll lady, and I created the channel so that we can discuss my journey, share my journey as I try to grow this business. I've been doing the business for the last 4 years, and I'll be the first one to say that most days I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, but yet we still manage to go 6 figures plus in the business. So if you're scared of change, if you are not certain of what you're doing, but you're willing to come on the journey anyways, then this channel is for you. We will visit, we'll discuss whatever comes to mind because, reselling is a lonely reselling is a lonely journey if you don't have a support group with you. And by that I mean, like, at first you don't there's days that you don't want to people, right? You don't want to go to an office. You're excited because, this job offers you the opportunity, or this business offers you the opportunity of not having to deal with people, which is good. I mean, excellent if you ask me, but it becomes, once you figure out the routine that you have to do, then it does become a little monotonous, in a sense. So, but not documenting the journey means that I don't necessarily know where this is going. And after many counseling sessions, I've come to my own conclusion finally that allowing life to surprise us is not a bad thing. I think that the younger we are, the more we know what we're going to do, and nobody else could tell us different. That confidence is so beautiful. It's not bad. It's a beautiful thing to be in your 20s and know that you're going to do this no matter what. But I think as we age, life kind of like molds us. The older you start to become, the more it feels like Play-Doh. In my 20s, I just absolutely knew that it was going to happen A, B, and C. And then you get to your 30s and you start to get that, fumbling around type of situation. And then in your 40s, you start to know a little bit better, but you're still open. So I just got to thinking this morning, like, what salary made you rich or made you feel like you had made it? And for me, I was in my early 20s and I knew that one way or another, I was going to get out of public housing. I knew I was going to get out of public housing. There was no changing that situation for me. I grew up in public housing, and I knew that one way or another, if I had to burn the whole world down, I was going to get out of there. And I, I'm one of those people that like started life in the most backward way possible. Like, I had my daughter way, way early. And so, like, the whole, when I was growing up, college and then you become a professional and you become rich type of situation was the message that we used to get back in those days. And that was not an option for me immediately because I started backward, right? I had my daughter first, and then I finished high school, and then I went to work and that kind of stuff. So I, the one thing I knew was that I was going to get out of there. No matter what happened, I was going to get out of there. And that was my 20s, knowing everything stage. And thank God for that, girl. Thank God for that bull that was the 20s. So in my 20s, I applied for a job to become, I applied to a job to become a armed security guard, right? And I worked with, again, this has to do with being in your 20s and just knowing what you know, because the world cannot tell you different. the younger you are, the more you know, the more you know. So in my 20s, I applied to be a guard. And it was like, I mean, this job was like the end all be all for me. I was like, oh my God. First of all, I didn't even think I would qualify for it, right? And then my husband encouraged me to apply for it because we've been together for a long time. So he encouraged me to apply for it. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, the newspaper ad was like a whole Bible worth of qualifications that you needed. And I was just like, oh my God, like you have to take a lie detector test and you have to take all these like psychology tests. And I mean, it was like a big girl job for me. I was like, I was making it rain at that point. So I applied for this job and I got it. I got the job. And here is here's where I met one of my best friends that has been with me for this whole entire journey. He was, we call him Grumpy Mel because he is very grumpy. But we started together at this job, and unbeknownst to me, I passed the credit and I passed all this like psychology tests, and I was scared crapless to take like a lie detector test and all this. And I'm like, oh my God, how about if I forgot that I lied about something? But anyways, I managed to get through the qualifications, and surprise, surprise, I was at this job, and I don't remember. I think it might have been like 20 or 30 guys. It was just me. I was the 20-year-old person in there, and I was the female, the only female in this job, for like a little bit. And then like another girl came in, and then like it was one of those jobs where the guys were like, "Oh, you're not gonna last here. You know, you'll be here for a week, and then you're out of here, and blah blah blah." But thank God for that bull at the age of 20, because she was not having it. She was like, I am here to stay, and this is my ticket out of the out of the public housing, and you are not gonna make me quit, no matter what. So thankfully, I met, my long lifetime buddy Mel there, and I met a couple other guys there that were like, oh, okay, let's try to get through this together, because I think he had come from the military, and him and his wife were exactly in the spot that me and my husband were at that time. We were just like digging ourselves out. We wanted better, and 1250, that was a lot of money, and you could work however many hours you wanted to work. You could volunteer for longer things and whatever. So we did that job for a while, and you could not tell me any different. I felt like a rich girl. I was just, I was like in heaven, because I knew that somehow, some way, I can dig myself out of the situation that we were in, because the amount of hours. So from that job came a fun fact. I used to take naps on bags that contain millions and millions of dollars, and I would not even get really $12 an hour out of that bag belonged to my salary. And I think I did that job for a while. I don't remember exactly how long we lasted there, but I stayed there for a while, and there came a time where like my knees just started to hurt, because we would jump in and out of the truck. We would go in and out of banks and stores and just stuff like delivering money, and hoping that you would not, get robbed or whatever. So I did that job for a while, and every job that you go to, you like, I every job that I went to, I picked up one or two people that have came for the journey of have came with me for this journey called life. And I think that that's one of the exciting things that sometimes we kind of forget, that the job itself is not what makes it. It's the people that you collect along the way. Because to this day, if there was something that happened at 3 o'clock in the morning, I can call my buddy from that job, and he would drop what he's doing and come pick me up. And his wife has become my best friend, and we were all in the struggle together. We were bundling our kids and going to Philadelphia for this $12 an hour job. We had to go to Philadelphia to qualify at the range, because you had to become qualified. Like, you had to get a CDL, you had to become qualified. I mean, the qualifications were heavy, and 1250, we were golden. We were like the most excited things in the world. So that was my first like rich girl salary. I mean, I was so happy back then. I just knew for sure that this was going to be our ticket out of the out of the public housing, and it was. That's the thing. It was the ticket out of the public housing. I ended up making too much money to stay in public housing, and then I had to go to like a rent control house, and then from the rent control house, I was the benefactor of like those city programs that they help you buy your first home. And I went through that the first time, and I did not qualify. Super heartbreak. I didn't know how to budget and whatever, and those programs are meant to show you how to budget and figure out what does home ownership look like, because nobody in my family ever owned a house, so I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew was I was buying a house with my rich girl salary, and my rich girl salary at that point was $12.50. So I want to know, what was your what was your rich girl salary, and like how exciting it is to like look back and see what life gives us. Sometimes I think that when we're building things, when we're busy doing things, we are so gung ho on it has to be this way, that we are not allowing our life any like surprises. And surprises, we're all excited about surprises when they're good, but nobody wants a bad surprise. Unfortunately, you can't enjoy the good without the bad. Like, that's what makes it feel so good when you get a good surprise, that you're just like, you got to open yourself to the universe to allow both the good and the bad to come through. But I will be the first one to say, I don't want the bad. I don't want the bad. I just want to do it this way and this way only. But I think I'm learning. I think that the universe has crushed my soul enough times to understand that I can make a plan, but the plan has to be to go with the flow. And if you plan not to go with the flow, then you're just going to get hurt, because that's just the way it works. Like, you could plan however much you want, but life is going to put you where it needs you, and that's just the way it rolls. So my rich girl salary was $12.50. Man, that felt great back then. My rich girl salary now, I don't know. I don't know what that is. And honestly, I really don't care. I think that the thing that happened with us was that we spent our 20s pretending to be grown-ups, and buying a house and just buying stuff, and then we had to spend all of our 30s recovering and trying to figure out, how do we get out of this hole that we created. And now we are in our 40s and we're completely debt free. We have been debt free for quite a while, and it's exciting. So now the thing is, I could feel rich at any time, because as long as my basic needs are met, I could move it along and not worry about a specific number. And that is a beautiful, beautiful feeling. If you are one of those people that are struggling with debt, I suggest that you put in the work to get out of it. It stinks so bad, and the struggle is real, and it took us forever to get out of it. But I'll tell you what, the other side feels so great. Just not being in debt feels so great. And And I can honestly say, like, right now, if I chose to, I could pay off my house because we owe $16,000 on our house. So if I wanted to, I could pay it off. But my husband doesn't want to because we're only paying 3% on it. So he's like, we could use that money someplace else. So, and that's a major, major difference between that rich girl salary where it was $12.50 and I was fighting like heck to get us a house. And now I think that when you're like debt free, rich girl salary is a whole different, it has a whole different meaning because you don't need that much to live. Also, being cognizant that you cannot buy a house like I did now. My neighbor's house, I bought my house. So I bought this house for $40,000, and I thought that was a lot. My neighbor's house that has no improvements, no anything. It looks like you just walked into 1980s. That house just sold for 110 or 120, something like that. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I guess a rich girl salary is a lot different now than it was back when I started. But every stage in life I think has a rich girl salary, and I think that after a couple decades it's fun to look back and just talk to yourself and talk to your friends, talk to the people that have been there with you. And it's so funny to like, if you're one of those people. I don't have many friends. I'm not somebody that collects hundreds of people along the way, but I think that one thing is true for me, and that is I may collect one or two, but we are loyal to the end. Like we travel together. This guy I told you about, that I started my rich girl salary with, he has been in my life. I actually have pictures of him when my middle child was like 2. I think she was even younger than that when we started together. And, we have been together through this journey called life the whole time. We're still together. We're still calling each other and just, hanging out and doing whatever. The next salary that was like the super, like I thought I made it at 1250, but my next salary that made me rich was when I got my state job. Because there came a point where like, my body was hurting from at the tender age of 20. I was just starting to like, really get into some situations in that job where my knees would hurt from jumping in and out of the truck and that kind of stuff. And I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to college. And I seen that other guys were going to like the military and they would work with them part-time and they would come and do it. So I decided I'm going to go to college and I will try to work this job part-time. And the guy looked at me and he said, it's your choice. You could do college or you could work here, but you can't do both. And I was just like, okay, I guess I'll do college, because in my mind at that time, it was 2000 and I think it was like 2007 or yeah, like 2006, 2007, something like that. In that time, I still was under the impression that if you go to college, then you get the rich girl salary. And that was, I grew up with that. Non-educated people did not get enough, and educated people got the money, and you get a career, and blah, 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 whatever they sold us back then. So I decided, I don't even know, like, that young girl decided that she was just gonna be a bull again, just be a bull, and you could not tell her any different. And she was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go to college, because if I could just suffer through this for the next 2 to 4 years, after that, then I'm gonna get the rich girl salary. So I just knew if we could just hunker down for a few years until I got through this, the rich girl salary was going to come. So from that, I went into somewhere along the way. I think I was about a year. I don't know. I was a couple years into college, and I had the opportunity to apply for the state, and that was the rich girl salary. I think we started at $18 there, something like that. I think our salary was under like 35,000 or something like that. But again, I was working part time at a call center with a lot of friends, and that too, like that call center. From that call center, I think we were all making, I don't know, like it was under $10. I think I was rich at like $10 in that place. But from that call center, a bunch of us came from there, like, and we are still friends today because we were young, we were poor, we had dreams, we knew we were going to make it. All of us, we all knew we were going to make it somehow, some way. You could not tell us any different. We were dysfunctional as heck. That's what the heck we were. But we had a great time doing it. And we were poor together and we suffered together and we built together. And from that job, I still have a few friends that came through and we still get together to this day. So salary and friendships are just, I don't know, life just has a weird way of life just has a weird way of giving us things that have nothing to do with money. Nothing. We had such a blast. It was called ICR, and like we used to call people and do surveys, and I don't know. I think we were making, it was less than 10, I believe, because I became rich at like 11, maybe 10 or $11 an hour. I became rich at that place. So I did that for a while, and from there I collected a few friends that, you know, to this day we call each other, we laugh about it. We just, we were having kids back then. Some of us collected husbands from that job, some of us collected money, and a lot of us collected memories, and we could all to this day just laugh so much about how crazy it was and all the stories that we collected when we were there. We were there. It was an awesome job, and it allowed many of us to go to college and still be able to, make a couple dollars to have rent money, because that's what we were doing. We were just like working this job that was super flexible, and we were even more flexible with not showing up. It was crazy. But I think I became a rich girl there at about $10 an hour, maybe 11. I don't know. One of these days I have to go through my memory box and just pull out some of the things that I've saved, because all along my life I've saved like one or two things to kind of like remind me of, this is when you felt this way. And the one thing that I have, and I don't know where I have it, the one thing that I have to this day is my receipt from when I left the housing. I kept that receipt because I was like, I never want to go back there ever. Not by choice, anyways. Again, life has a weird way of showing us different situations, so we never know, right? You're only one accident away from becoming a non-rich person again. But my rich girl salary was, I think it was about, I don't know, it might have been about $10. So $12.50 when I went to the guard thing was a big deal. And from there I went to college, and after college, or during college, I think I started at community college, and then some of the girls from that call center, and I mean phone call center, not like a call center. So some of the girls from there, some of my friends from there had gotten into the state, and we were like so excited. We were like, oh my God, that's the job. That is the job. Like, you go in there, you make all this money, and then you retire and you're happily ever after. So yeah, I applied. So one of my girlfriends from my previous job got in, and she was like, "Okay, I'll try to get you in." So then my another friend got in, and I was like, "Oh my God, how exciting!" And then like five or six of us were trying to get into this, rich girl job, which is the state, and I applied and I went in, and I had a killer interview. I knew I had a killer interview because I was just like, I practiced this interview for hours and hours, and I was just like, I'm going to get this job. I'm going to get this job. And I think my score was like, I don't know. So you had to go to like Harrisburg and test to these jobs. You take a test and then they give you a score to see, I don't know, whatever they do. I don't even know. And my score came out to like 89. And I thought that was a great score. Well, I wasn't sure what a good score was, but I was like, well, if it's 89 out of 100, then I'm pretty good. So I got through this interview, and the one of the managers pulled me to the side and she said, "You interviewed so well." And I was like, "Yes." She said, "But you need above a 90 for us to you need above a 90 for us to offer you the job." What? I was 1 point away. One. Mind you, this test was like 3 hours, and you have to drive an hour and a half to take this test, and then you have to make an appointment, drive to the Capitol, and and take this test. So I had an awesome interview, but I was 1 point short. And she encouraged me to please go back and take this test because she wanted to offer me the job. But I was 1 point short. Man, that was devastating. Went back in, and I still had, my rich girl job at that point was still like that $10 and change. And I was going through college, and I was going through college because I knew in order to get a professional job, in quotations, you needed to have like this degree or whatever. And in the city, where I live now, that's not the case. But in the city, they highly prefer, it's not required, I didn't know this back then, but they highly preferred college graduates to get the job. So I ended up signing back in, making an appointment, and at that point I was so scared of going under 89. The first time I went through and took the test, I don't know, I was done in like an hour. The second time I took the test, it took me all 3 hours because I was so paranoid of like losing this 1 point. I just needed to be above 89. So I think the second time I went through, I don't know. I think it might have been, I got like 3 points or something. So I ended up with like a 92. So then I was like, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I'm so excited. I'm going to go back in there and whatever. So the opportunity came again. And like, this is how hindsight it's funny how hindsight works, because if they're constantly hiring, the job is not that great. But I didn't know that. You could not tell me any different. So whatever. I took the test. It was about 3 hours of testing, and I got 3 extra points. It was enough to get me to go back in and get this interview. And so I went back the second time, and I think I interviewed July of 2008 or something like that. And that letter, they were like, it's like a group, 3 people, and they're shooting all these questions at you, and nobody smiles, nobody looks at you, nobody does anything. So I'm like, I wonder if I got it or not. I don't know. And then came the letter. Congratulations, we are welcoming you to blah, 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 the state. Holy smokes. I was really rich at that point. I think I started like at $18 an hour. I might have the letter somewhere that I saved, because that was it. That was the breaking point. That's when I really knew I had made it. $18 an hour. And you cannot tell me any different. It was the best day of my life. I was like, I cried, I jumped for joy, I did everything. So I started that job, and it was like, you could not tell me any different. I was so excited about that job, and I decided, you know what? I'm so rich. I'm going to go to Boscov's and get me this makeup that I could only pass by and look at, but could never afford. And I went in there, and I don't know, like this is like a department store, and like you go in there and you can sit down and they like do your face and match your color or whatever. Because as you can see, I don't do makeup, so I sat there and I got all the matching stuff and whatever. And I think my first paycheck that I got, and it takes like a whole entire month to get paid from this job, but I was rich, so it did not matter. So I don't know. I want to say it was less than 20, but almost 20. And that, I was super rich. So I went and I did like, I was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I made it. Like, I've made it. So I went and I got this makeup thing done. And I don't know. She gave me like 3 creams. I don't even know what I bought, honestly. It was just like one of those things. I was so rich that I bought these I bought these 3 things of makeup, and it was like 100 and something dollars. And I was just like, what? But I'm like, I made it. I made it. So I bought it. And that was the one splurge item that I bought myself when I became rich. I think that was in my early 30s, I guess. Yeah. Little did I know how hard and stressful that job was going to be. And it was hard and stressful. And you could not pay me triple that price at this point to work at that particular office for that amount of money. But it's just funny to sit here and reminisce on what is your rich girl salary? What is your rich girl? And you know that you're nowhere near rich when you're breaking it down into hourly, right? Like, if you still have to break it down into hourly, then you're probably not there. But you could not tell me any different. I was rich and happy for the moment. So then came, that stuff that sent all of us home. And I started dabbling into eBay. Well, not even eBay. I started dabbling into Poshmark, and, just started to fumble through and kind of figure it out and figure out, okay, we could do this. We can go from one thing to another. And I did not know what I was going to be doing. I, I didn't have any plans. I had zero plans. Let's just say that. Zero. Things just aligned the way they had to, because that's how life wanted it. And I just sold one thing and then flipped that into something else. There for a little bit, because of us all being stuck in the house, my daughter brought some skates home, and she's like, here, try to sell these. Them things sold immediately for like $75. And I was like, whoa, what? So then I started picking up skates, roller skates, and they were selling all over the place. So everybody would look at me like I had 3 eyeballs. But if you look at my Poshmark closet, you can see I sold quite a few roller skates when I first started this journey. That turned into clothing, and then clothing turned into like me starting to really self-doubt the whole thing, because I would go to the racks, and as I'm moving the hangers from side to side, the inflammation on my chest and my arms would get so bad that I would have to like rest for a day or two. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't know about all this, but I just kept going. I think that overall the arch of life is just keep going. Even when you're uncomfortable, there's ups, there's downs. You just have to keep going, and things will roll exactly how they have to roll, and you land where you need to land. Not where you want to land, but where you need to land. So my rich girl salary when I started this was 100K. I'm like, if I make 100K, I'm going to be rich. Oh, I don't know. What's your rich girl salary? You let me know.